hi-ho folks, and welcome back to the adventures of Turwinkle, the Gnome Mage. Well, hi Turwinkle.
Hi there.
Are you all set for tonight, sir?
Affirmative.
Well, great. Well, as you folks can see, we are here in the Exodar, and the reason we're here is we are going to go talk to Gaandelinn, the Mountain of Nor-Kure, a wonderful role player here on Moonguard, and we're going to find out all about his role play, a little bit about him, get some great advice for you new and veteran role players alike, and get a great shout out from him tonight. So without any further ado, let us go find and talk with Gaandelinn. Alrighty folks, well, as you can see, we have found him here. That's right, we have found Gaandelinn. He is the High Vindicator of Nor-Kure. Gaandelinn, the Light of Dawn. He's a level 100 Draenei Paladin. Hello, sir.
Hi, good evening.
It is so awesome of you to take the time to talk with us about your roleplay tonight, sir.
Hi, thank you for letting me explain it.
All right, well, let's hop right into it, shall we? And so our first question is, number one, how long have you been playing WoW?
The best answer I can give you is midnight release of vanilla.
Wow, okay, so from the very beginning, is that correct?
Well, further than that, I did play a little bit of the beta as well. Back when there was player-tested housing where Goldshire is now, there was actually going to be player-testing houses there and everything, and it was crazy.
Wow, okay. Well, how long have you been role-playing in WoW?
Role-playing in WoW itself, I started back in Burning Crusade, actually. Yeah, right around when that expansion hit, I kind of got interested in the whole roleplay aspect.
Oh, and what interested you in it at that time?
You know, it might shock you, but the Draenei interested me when they first came out.
Oh, okay. And so, when that came out, is that when you made Gaandelinn? Has he been with you since then, or?
Yep. Him and my shaman, Krasgar Warblade, both of them have been there since the beginning of Burning Crusade.
Wow, all right. Now, have you roleplayed outside of WoW?
Oh, quite a bit. I do Dungeons and Dragons and Roll20 and what else? I guess in a term of role-playing, I do drama at college, and I used to do it at high school all the time, so live-action roleplay, you call it.
Right, excellent. Well, sir, when we come back, folks, we're going to find out a little bit more about Gaandelinn's roleplay and a little bit more about Gaandelinn, the character. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so the first question, Gaandelinn, is, I guess, how did you come up with the name Gaandelinn?
Well, actually, it's a funny question, really. Back when I used to play on the server Zul'jin, which was a PvE-heavy server with some PvP. My brother, who I used to play with, had an orc named Gargan, which, Gargantuan. And I always liked that name, and I had an orc named Kargath. And honestly, I actually made that name up on my own, not realizing later on when I came across places like the Kargath camp and everything. I was like, oh, cool, there's stuff named after my character, but that wasn't really it. But I named Gaandelinn after Gargan, the end of Gan, which is kind of a play on the name Gargantuan, which is where Gan kind of gets his whole size thing from, played into his name.
Okay, awesome. So fill us in on your backstory. What is Gaandelinn? What's his story?
I hope you brought some popcorn.
Okay.
All right. Gaandelinn started in Argus, where he was a hunter and a chief back then. He was more of in a tribal stage. And I'm playing this off of the evidence, and the viewers might know this, where so far we only know that Draenei and further past that before the Naru, which was 25,000 years ago, the Eredar, which is where Gan is from. So far what we know is they're just immortal in the age impossibly slow. So I'm playing it until lore or a blue post dictates otherwise. Gan is back from a more tribal stage with the Eredar, back before they had their heavily advanced cities and towns and technology and everything. So pretty much Gan is right around when Velen, Ogremonde, and Kil'jaeden, the three big guys with the whole Draenei Minari thing, back where they came from. And so he was a hunter and a chief back then, and as a chief he was also a ruin master. So as a lot of people know, the Eredar were heavily magically inclined with the arcane. So Gaandelinn, of course, he was a Ruin Master, but he's more of like an alpha. That's where he got his size and all of his power and everything, was his genes, the fact that he rose above every challenge that came to him, or he found a new way to rise above it if he didn't the first time. And despite his size, and despite the power that he might have, he's very humble, and he doesn't take advantage of it. He does it more to help the Draenei, which he doesn't really see himself as a Draenei because he is so old, which I won't put a number on because no, we don't know anything past that. After the whole Argus thing, on the Genedar, where the Draenei went on after the Legion was attacking Argus, Gaandelinn was an engineer for, how would you put it? I guess biospheres, of where the Genedar would grow like the crops, or would hold the living quarters, or hold the animal shelters and everything for when they went to colonize a new planet before the Legion got to them again. So he did a heavy amount of the engine work and biospheres that went into the Genedar, which was the main ship. And actually, the Genedar is, if you know this, Turwinkle, in Nagrand, in Outlands, not Draenor, but in Outlands, the Genedar is that giant pale white crystal that has all those symbols around it. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes, certainly.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't want to say the entirety of the Genedar, but that's a huge piece of it, and we don't know where the rest of it is. Probably crashed somewhere, because the Draenei are really great at driving spaceships. Nexidar. Anyways, so after hopping from colony planet to colony planet, and I don't mean to leave this out as well, Gaandelinn found his first mate and his only mate, Avanya, which is the Egg-Charge of the Norkir, the guild that he is the High Vindicator of. He met her on Argus, where Gaandelinn first actually was a Rengari, which is pretty much the hardcore hunters or the hardcore rangers and trackers. He was something of a commander, of a high-ranking leader with the Rengari back then. But that's where he found her, which he affectionately calls her his Fury, because she's more like a furious fire of the way that she rose through the ranks to be his second in command back then, back when he was a Rengari of the jungles. But again, after Argus and the colony planets, they jumped, and then on one of the colony planets, Le Mortis, which is the leader of our vanguard, that's Gan's son. And he was born on one of the colony planets, which was approximately, I want to say, 11,000 to 15,000 that area was when he was born, ago from now. And soon after that, about half of Le Mortis' life, Alosa, which is the PvP leader of our vanguard, she was born on another colony planet as well, which was right around when Gaandelinn went missing, to go on a very sacrificial sort of kamikaze mission against the Man'ari, and trying to figure out what their weaknesses are, how to fight the Man'ari, or get a better foothold against the Legion. And Gan has a lot of survivalist guilt from that, since he's the only one who survived from that mission of a group of 22. So he deals with that, and soon after all that, he was on the Exodar. He helped with when the Blood Elves were trying to get all of the Draenei on Outlands, as we call it now, or Draenor, that went bad. That's where Gaandelinn kind of made his last stand to fight and help against the Blood Elves when they were trying to get them, but that didn't work out so well, since obviously Gaandelinn lived, which was awesome. And back then, actually, Gaandelinn had saved Avanya and thrown her onto the Exodar, and he stayed behind, and she didn't know it was him, but he knew it was her, so it was kind of a heartbreaker sort of thing. And then after that, it was Azeroth, and that's when he helped with all of the Argent Dawn and then the Argent Crusade. He was everything on Azeroth up to this point. He has been, I put lore-wise, that he's a part of the spearhead group of everything. So he was there at the Battle of Deathwing. He was there with the battle against Illidan and Kael'thas. He was there in the Crusade and the Siege of Icecrown, and also Siege of Orgrimmar. There on henceforth, you get the picture with that. And that brings us to where we are now, and he recently, after Hellfire Citadel had come around, that's when Gaandelinn showed himself back up to Avanya, and then soon after that they worked out the kinks with their relationship, and they came to be together again, and that's where Gan comes back into play as a character that I roleplay now.
Wow, okay. Well, that is an awesome storyline. Now, how much of that was played, and how long did it take you to come up with the backstory?
All of it that was played out were the parts from Outlands and their fourth. Everything before that, meaning like when the Draenei were on the Ganadar and they were hopping from colony to colony planet, that was not role played out, and that was just stuff that I did creative writing with. And how long it took to do, I've been building this character's storyline since Burning Crusade, so little by little I've been taking away pieces of a story or adding pieces to it, and it's come up since Burning Crusade till now to get this story that I'm telling you. It's taken that long to make this story.
All right, perfect. Well, excellent. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about Gaandelinn's roleplay style and a little bit more about Gaandelinn himself. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so, Gaandelinn, how would you describe your roleplay style? Are you a multi-paragrapher? Are you just short sentences? What's your style?
Over the last couple of years for role-playing, I've come to the conclusion that I like to call it adaptive role-playing, which is where I'll do any kind of role-play. So if someone likes to do a couple of sentences, and they don't like to do big, huge, giant posts, well, I'll just do a couple sentences just to adapt to what they're normal with, so they don't feel overwhelmed. I like to roleplay with what other people are comfortable with, not with how I roleplay.
Oh, excellent. And what would be your favorite type of roleplay?
I think my favorite type of roleplay, that's an interesting question, because you can't just go, oh, I love Kingdom roleplay. No. I used to play in private servers a lot, so every time I see like Kingdom roleplay or stuff like that on trade chat, I just find it hilarious. Well, I would say my favorite would have to be, just to put it into a general, probably with Draenei or Orcs, and more so on that, more into like spiritual or fighting roleplay. Those are kind of the two I like, as well as research kind of roleplay, like as if you're researching a new kind of magic, or you're trying to create something new within a world that already has things. I find it heavily immersive when you can actually insert yourself into the world.
Now, speaking about the fighting roleplay, what kind of style do you utilize? Are you more of a D20 style, or are you more of the just full immersion roleplay with it?
I will do D20 if that's what people want to do. Personally, I like to do, which is what some people like to call it, is free emote battle roleplay. It's basically where you're emoting and you're adding in strategy to it. You're not actually doing rolls. It's just, if this person's faster, okay, that means it's harder to block their attacks, where I'm bigger and I've been battling for a lot longer than they have, so if I hit them once, they might end up with a broken ribbon on the ground. Just, it's common sense battle roleplay, where D20 is more, a rabbit has a chance of killing the Lich King, is
right.
Basically. But
all right, well, excellent. So, folks, when we come back, we're going to find out a little bit more about Gaandelinn in real life, so we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Gaandelinn in real life. And the reason we do that is to break that stereotype of what a role player looks like in real life. We're not all 40-year-old guys eating Cheetos in mom and dad's basement all day, but people from different backgrounds, different societies, different organizations, gender, race, age, they all like to role play. And so, Gaandelinn, tell us a little bit about you, sir.
Well, I am a 20-year-old Irish lad. I originally come from Cork, and I actually came here to America, now in Oregon. I came here for schooling, actually. I was offered a scholarship to come here, and I took it the instant I got it. And aside from role-playing and whatnot, what I like to do, my fair share of hobbies, is, oh, and there's a lass, alright, good to go. What I like to do is, I like to do drama, theatrics, so I will act as an extra in TV shows. Like recently I did a couple of shootings for Grimm, and then I did a couple of shootings for The Librarians as well.
Wow.
So I like doing that stuff. It's really, really fun. Aside from that, I love to go hunting during the seasons that they allow, and working out basically helps get the juices flowing, gets your mind creative. Whenever you're working out, it makes your brain work in ways that usually you don't when you're sitting down at a table with a piece of paper and trying to think of stuff. So it really helps with creative writing as well.
Right, and you do quite a bit of that, don't you, the creative writing side?
Oh, I do it quite a bit, actually. I do it enough on WoW that recently, actually a year ago, when I signed up for college, when I went to go do my reading and writing test, I scored in the topmost score that you can get, which was 115 in both of them. So I was able to skip most classes and go straight to a couple senior reading and writing English classes.
Oh, awesome. Now, what are you taking in school, sir? What are you looking to do?
My major is cybersecurity and networking specialist.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's awesome. And so will you be looking to work for a big corporation, help protect data and whatnot?
Basically, it's any big corporations or, big corporations or government. That's basically where it leads to.
Right. Well, excellent. See, folks, there you go. Again, someone that has come from across the pond over to the United States, enjoys hunting, acting, which is awesome. I mean, that is great. And creative writing. Now, let me ask you before we move on, sir, do you find that your creative writing helps your role play, or that your role play helps your creative writing?
Honestly, it's one of those things where I role play, so it helps develop my creative writing, but when I do my creative writing, it helps develop my role play. It's like having two separate pylons constantly shooting resources at each other, and they're just building each other up, and it's almost like you're cheating in a video game.
Right. All right, well, awesome. And so, folks, when we come back, we are going to get some advice from Gaandelinn for you new role players and maybe you veteran role players alike. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so, Gaandelinn, for those new role players that would like to start role-playing in WoW, what is some good advice for them?
For the new people who want to role-play in WoW, it's really good to start with just one race and figure out that race. Understand a little bit of enough of their lore, and don't try to play a super old character right off the bat. I highly recommend playing a character that's still young, so that when you make mistakes in character, it's accounted for by your age, so that it's not like if you're playing a really old character and in character you say something that contradicts lore itself, or it's like a mishap on history, people are gonna they're gonna grind you out for it just simply because of the fact that you're playing an old character and you're trying to perceive the fact that you know what you're doing. Unless you play a senile old man, then I mean that's fun too. But for an actual character, for a new person, I highly recommend picking one race, learn that race enough to understand how to play at least a younger character, and then play that character for a while. And if you don't feel like you belong in a guild, don't feel like you have to stay. Jump from place to place, get experiences with other people. If it comes down to it, just walk up to someone and just start role-playing with them. That's the best advice I can give is nobody wants to walk up to you. You have to walk up to them. It's the same thing with drama is acting is reacting, and when you don't have anything to react to, you can't bring your character out.
Oh, that's very true, and some great advice. Yeah, what you want to do, folks, is don't be timid, don't be afraid, just hop in there and walk up and start role-playing, and I think you'll find that some of the greatest adventures that you'll go on will be those random role-plays. Isn't that right?
Oh, that is absolutely correct. and furthermore, I would have to say the biggest thing that you can do for yourself if you're willing and able to learn to roleplay, and even if it's just obviously your first time, ask someone who's had a couple years some advice. Yeah, I mean, even though if you're watching this, that's awesome, but also don't forget to subscribe. I do have to say, asking other people who are veterans of roleplay, like officers in guilds that you know are big guilds, or asking a GM, or just asking people who are random role players out in the streets of Stormwind or in Orgrimmar or wherever, and you see them pumping out huge paragraphs and it looks like they know what they're doing, just ask them for a little couple of tips and ask them for how they got across, X, Y, and Z, or whatever questions you have for them.
All right, some wonderful advice there. And so, folks, when we come back, we are going to get a big shout-out from Gaandelinn to whoever he would like to do that to. So we'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. And so, Gaandelinn, who would you like to give a shout-out to tonight?
I'd like to give a shout-out to good couple of people and groups. First and foremost, I would have to give a shout out to the Moonguard and the Warm Rest Accord communities for building such strong roleplay. Without these communities and these people who roleplay on these two servers, I wouldn't have been able to advance myself like I have. And if there's any of those people, any of these certain types of people I'm about to call out that are watching, I would love to give a shout out to one group, which is Hand of the Goddess, Maethor, Thralalia, probably Penth, probably still there, and Ysaria. I'd like to give a shout out to those people. That was the first guild that I joined when I first came back to WoW, which I took a year break during Kata. And along with that, I would like to give a shout out to Norcure, obviously. These guys are my family. I lose sleep and insanity over this guild, so I can't help but love these guys. Last but not least, I would love to give a shout out to my loving girlfriend Julia, or as some people would know her as, Sunny from G News. She's in college right now, and I hope she's doing really well, and I hope she gets to see this.
Well, that is some awesome shout outs there, sir. Thank you very much. And so, folks, when we come back, we'll give our final goodbyes and thoughts on this awesome roleplay and roleplayer, Gaandelinn. We'll be right back with that. Alrighty, folks, and we are back. Well, Gaandelinn, it has been a lot of fun here tonight, sir, getting to know all about you and your character. I think you have a wonderful roleplay here, sir.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right, folks, again, if you happen to catch Gaandelinn here on Moonguard US, do that walk-up roleplay and have fun role-playing with this character. Again, part of the Norcure, and a great guild over here on Moonguard US. And again, it's always open for that walk-up roleplay. A wonderful role player and a wonderful person behind the character. Once again, Gaandelinn. So with that, folks, we're going to hearth on back to the Shrine of the Seven Stars with our final thoughts on this awesome roleplay. Alrighty, folks. Well, we made it safe and sound back to the Shrine of the Seven Stars. And boy, Turwinkle, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Affirmative.
You bet. So let's give Gaandelinn a big thank you, sir.
I am in your debt.
We certainly are. And so, folks, if you like this episode, click that like button. If you'd like to comment on this episode or on any of our previous episodes, please do so below. Let us know what you liked and what you didn't. And finally, if you would like to subscribe, well, we would love to have you. So hit that subscription button today. All right, Turwinkle. Well, excellent job as always, sir. And Turwinkle, we will see you next time.
Farewell!
Farewell, Turwinkle. Farewell.